From the Church of the Philadelphian, welcome to Knowing the Holy Bible for Yourself, with your host, teacher, and correctionist, Wayne Thomas.
Okay, now we're coming into now Genesis chapter 22. This is a very, very special chapter for a very, very special reason. Okay, where do I even begin to tell you about this? I guess I can begin by telling you that when God created the world, actually, there were two major tests for mankind. Two major tests for mankind. Okay? Two tests for mankind. The first test came hands down with Adam and Eve, putting in front of them the tree of good and evil. And we know what happened. They were tricked into messing with that tree when God commanded them to not touch it. Don't mess with it, have nothing to do with it, because it will open the door to death. Okay? And they were tricked into opening that door. But then God's going to make another test, give another test. And it is found here in chapter 22 with Abraham. Okay. Where do I? This is what this is all about right here. Okay. One day. Now, Hagar and Ishmael, they're gone. You know, God already told her about the blessings, and she's going to bless that man, that boy Ishmael. He's going to give him 12 sons. He's going to have the land. They're going to be blessed. But his covenant is going to be with Isaac. And the reason that is because, remember, I kept saying to you that, and I kept reminding that when God was talking to Abraham and talking to Sarah about having a child, even in their old age and all of that, that was a promise. When God told Abraham way back when he was much younger, how he was giving him all the blessings and all these different things. You know what I mean? And how you're going to have children like the stars in the sky, or like the sand on the sea. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And these are a promise, considering that Sarah was barren, couldn't have no children. But God is promising Abraham that these things are going to happen. And then we know that when Hagar and Ishmael, that whole thing happened, he told him, he said, Ishmael is great. He's going to get blessings, this, that, and the other. But my covenant is going to be with you and Isaac. You, Sarah and Isaac. You know what I mean? And then, of course, the angels came and told her, this time next year, you're going to have a son. This was all the promise. Whereas Ishmael, that was Sarah panicking. Abraham tells her that God is going to give him all these blessings and all these different things, and these children's going to be like the stars of the sky and all that. And she's thinking, well, I can't have any children, but we got to do something. And she panicked and made the agreement, made the deal with the whole situation happen with Ishmael, with Hagar, her handmaid. That wasn't the promise. The promise was with Isaac. Okay? That said, now Ishmael and Hagar is going their way. She's teaching him how to be a hunter. And they got their little land now, where they are. Isaac's now growing up to be a young boy now. He's coming into being a teenager now, 13, 14, somewhere around there, 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there. And him and here is where, it goes without saying that this was the son that Abraham and Sarah had. And you can read from these stories how they loved each other. They loved each other. You know what I mean? They really were into each other. You know what I mean? And stuff, and the things that they had to go through, the time they had to tell different kings and kingdoms that, you know, they were brother and sister, so they wouldn't kill her, to kill him to have her, and different things, and all the things that they did together. You know what I mean? And they were together all their lives like that. And then finally they have their own son, which is the answer to the promise. They now have their own son. And Abraham's teaching them everything. Teaching him everything about God, about worship, about all the different things, about everything. He's teaching them everything. And then one day, here in chapter 22, it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham? And Abraham said, Here I am, Lord. Behold, here I am. The Lord says, Go take your son that you love, Isaac. I want you to take him in the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering unto me. In other words, kill him, cut him into pieces, and sacrifice him unto me. And Abraham said, okay, Lord. It says here, that's all in chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 22, verse 1 and verse 2. In verse 3, it says, Abraham rose up early in the morning and had the saddle ready. He took the young men with him. He had his son Isaac ready. He had the wood and the clay for the burnt offering ready. And he rose up and went to the place where God told him to go. In other words, the next morning he was up and ready to go. I say that, and I say it this way, because I know that all men out there watching this video, all of you, including myself, we wouldn't have been able to do that. We wouldn't have been able to do that. If the Lord would have told me to take my little daughter at that age, when she got her little glasses and all, you know what I mean? And I'm her hero. You know, at that age, I was. Take her, kill her, cut her up into pieces, and sacrifice her unto me. As much as I love the God of Abraham, I would have had a very hard time doing that. I would have had a very hard time doing it. All you men out there, you would have had a very hard time doing it. Especially if you love your child, you would have had a hard time doing it. Period. Now, in today's modern times, somebody would consider doing something like that. They would not have a problem doing that. Especially if, in the modern times, especially if you were angry enough for some odd reason, that Cain murder, anger stuff, you'd have been able to maybe pull that off in today, especially in today's modern times, because there's certain rules and lines back in those days you didn't cross, no matter how bad. You know, but in today's time, I mean, it was bad enough back then with what they were doing, but there were certain lines that you didn't cross like that. Where today, oh yeah, you can cross those lines, and they ain't nothing. Okay? On the one hand. On the other hand, had you got paid, somebody got paid to do it, yeah. You know, they could have done like that. And be it you getting paid to do something like it there, or you did it through anger, all that's Satan's business. That's the enemy's business. You wouldn't have been able to do this with love under this spirit. But Abraham was ready to jump up the next day. He had everything ready. And there they go. Okay? We would have hemmed and hawed and got depressed and wanted to hold out and wanted to wait and you know, whatever, and let time pass because we're trying to get the Lord to change his mind. Waddling in disobedience. But Abraham was ready to go do this. And then, there they go, heading up. And he said the land of Moriah. That's another part that's very key here. Now, because they've gotten now, there. In other words, they're very close to Jerusalem. In the land of Moriah, that's Jerusalem. Okay? All right. So they get there. They get to a certain spot, and Abraham tells the men with him and all that, you guys all stay here. The boy and I, we're going up a little farther. And they're walking up there. And meanwhile, Isaac's starting to ask, Dad, where's the sacrifice? And Abraham's, the Lord will provide the sacrifice. They're going on up. Just the two of them. Isaac keep asking, Lord, Dad, what's the sacrifice? The Lord will provide the sacrifice. Then they get to the spot, and Abraham starts laying Isaac down on the ground. Am I the sacrifice? And he started like, okay, make sure you do it right. He's now volunteering himself. Your child would have done that with you, mister? You would have said, no, never mind. I ain't doing this. you, especially if you had a heart, you wouldn't have been able to do it. Not saying that Abraham didn't have a heart. Abraham was being obedient. But we're going to see the importance of this, and the bigger importance of this in a second. So Abraham gets him down there, ties him up, lights the sacrifice, the stuff that's in the sacrifice thing. He starts getting ready. He pulls the knife out. Isaac's laying there. And all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Abraham says a quick prayer unto the Lord and goes to strike. And soon, right before he strikes, the angel comes and hold your hand, Abraham. Hold your hand. Hold thy hand. Hold thy hand. You are about to do this. You were going to go through with this. You were going to kill your son, your firstborn, the son that you love. Because one day I'm going to have to sacrifice my firstborn, the son that I love. And that's what this was all about. And Abraham passed this test. This is the second test of mankind. And this is the real, true reason why Abraham got all the blessings, because God knew that he was going to do this. When this time came, being our father, he knew that Abraham was going to be obedient. And Abraham followed it to the letter. He was going to sacrifice his firstborn son, the son that he loved, because our father had to sacrifice his firstborn son. This is the second test of mankind. And I guess I can simply go back and say, because our father was going to sacrifice his firstborn. And you'll understand clearly what this was all about, why it was a second test. Now I'll put a little more spiritual side to it. You have to understand that lamb, and you wait till we get a little further on with Isaac and his sons. And we're going to now start pushing towards, you're going to start seeing something happening here. All along that God was helping us because of Adam and Eve and them opening that door to death. And you're going to see how, so God basically picked a family. He picked a family. This man, Abraham. Because Abraham was so obedient unto him. But then it all breaks down to this moment right here. And that's what this was all about. And this, right from this moment on, now for you Jews out there, this is why God picked you, the Jews. This is why you are the chosen people. This is the moment that made you the chosen people. Okay? Because of this. Now, I don't care what political, financial, power, any other thing on this earth that you might want to come up with or think about or say or whatever. Be it you Jew, be it you Gentile, be it you Muslim, be it you whatever you are. I don't care. This is the moment of it all. This moment right here is just as important as that moment when we went in the beginning of the Bible, before we started Genesis chapter 1, and we were with the lamb slain at the foundation of the earth. This is the equivalent of that moment. That's how important this is. Okay? Yes. All right. Now, I guess I can read it to you. Since that I told you all about it, I'll read it to you, and it should follow exactly the way I said it. Okay, let's see. And it came, Genesis chapter 22. I'll just read straight through it. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And Abraham said, Behold, here am I. And God said, Take thy son, thy only son, Isaac, the one you love. Get him into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose up early the next morning, and saddled his ass, and took the two of his young men with him, and Isaac his son. They had the clave of the wood for the burnt offering, and he rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place far off. And Abraham said to his young men, You guys stay here with the asses. I and the lad will go up yonder and worship, and will come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and he laid it upon Isaac. And he took the fire in his hand, and took a knife, and they went both there, went there together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. So they went, both of them together. There's something I missed. I got to tell you about that. When he went to strike when he went to strike Isaac, and the angel told him, Hold thy hand, and told him what this was all about. After he was finished with that, he said, Now there, he said, Now look there, and then he saw a ram with his horn stuck in the bush, in the thickets, and he said, There's your sacrifice. Now sacrifice him. All right. God will provide for the lamb of the burnt offering. So they went both together. And when they came to the place which God had told him, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound his son Isaac, and laid him upon the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife in to slay his son. But then the angel of the Lord called upon him, and said unto heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And Abraham said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Where's the rest of it? Anyway. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram was caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went back to the ram, and offered him for a burnt offering instead of his son. Look at all what I told you, and look at all that they missed. It's little simple things like the angel saying, There, look, behold, there's your sacrifice. Get him. There it is. Little things. They just took all that out and said, Here. He looked over and saw a lamb and went and got it. And Abraham called the place Jehovah Jireh. And it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel and I want to tell you something about that right there. I'm going to say that again. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh. And it is said to this day, back in those days, I guess, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. Remember that, because what I'm going to say after I finish reading this. And the angel of the Lord came unto Abraham out of heaven, called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time. And behold, And he said, by thyself I have sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and not withheld thy son, thy only son, that in blessings I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. Now here they're finally saying this here. They omitted it back when we first said it to them, but they brought it back here. Thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies, and in thy hand shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, behold, Micah, she has also borne children unto thy brother Nahor. Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel father of Amram. Okay. And this concubine whose name was Rema. Okay, that's the end of that. Now, I said that I was going to tell you something about this after I was finished reading. This very spot where all this took place in the Middle East and Israel today, 2020 something, the Muslims came there in these modern times and built the Temple Mound on the very spot, supposedly on the very spot that this took place, where Abraham had Isaac and was going to sacrifice him there. Because that very spot, by the way, 400 years, 500 years from now, David's son Solomon is going to build the temple of the Lord on that very same spot. I know I'm jumping ahead of me, but this stuff is so important. And my main goal is that you see it all. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be redundant, or I don't mean to be weird, or telling you, and I hope it doesn't, it's not troublesome for me to have to keep telling you different things or whatever. But it's just too important. You hear what I just said here? This very same spot where Abraham took Isaac, the very same spot, the Lord told Solomon 500 years later to build the temple of the Lord on that very same spot. Then in our modern times, the Muslim religion came and called themselves building on top of all of that. But to show that they shouldn't have done that, they built over here, thinking that this is where the spot was. But that's not the right spot. But they got their Temple Mount there to this very day. If you were to go visit Israel today, when you're driving towards Jerusalem, you're coming in it, you're going to see the Temple Mount, because it's the biggest thing you see, with a big gold dome. But they didn't put it on the actual spot. They missed it, because the God of Abraham said, this is a very special spot. Okay, and it has more to do with Abraham took Isaac there to sacrifice him, but there's a bigger reason here. Sacrificing the son. That should tell you that should give you the words for the bigger reason right there. Okay, somebody sacrificing a son. Abraham going to sacrifice Isaac, like our father's going to sacrifice his son. Okay. All right. And this gets juicy like this here from here on out. The Bible it goes like this from the Bible from here straight on to the end. All right. But reason being, now the salvation issue is on the scene. Now this is the first hint of the salvation for human beings, and still they don't know why. Still they don't exactly know why. Of course, in hindsight, we'll know it's because of death. But at this point, they don't know why. They don't exactly know why yet. All they know is they're just doing, the goal for Abraham here is to be obedient. Take your son, the one that you love, take him to this particular spot, kill him, cut him into pieces and sacrifice him unto me. Abraham's ready to go. Most of us wouldn't have been able to do, not all of us wouldn't have been able to do that. Abraham was able to do it. That's why he got the blessings. And that's why the Jews were the chosen people. Now, some of you are going to ask, okay, that's Abraham. And okay, but how did Jews get involved with us? And you're going to see this coming up real soon. Okay. All right. 4. And keep on reading. Here we got a long way to go. The good stuff. We are now in the good stuff. And here we go. Hold on to your hat. Here we go. All right. Take care.
You've been watching Knowing the Holy Bible for Yourself with your host, teacher, and correctionist, Wayne Thomas. Please remember to subscribe to our channel to receive new videos teaching you the Holy Bible in its entirety so that you can know the Holy Bible for yourself.